Good evening. How are you? It's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com. Just going to have a quick little fiddle, see if I can get that down a little bit more. Bit of crazy hair going on. Realised that I hadn't quite looked looked in the mirror and checked that I looked presentable and just have been hitting live. Hi Caroline, how are you doing, my lovely? How's your week been? So yeah, here I am, and here you are joining me live. Please, as you do join live, do as Caroline has done and just drop in and say hi. And perfectly timed, look at that, Alyssa, just as I've said that. Hello, my lovely, and welcome to you as well. And I know that we have a number of, about 20 or 30 new people have joined the page in the past week. So there could well be a lot of new members coming on this evening. So please, if you're a new member, then follow Caroline and Alyssa's a wonderful lead, and do drop in and say hi as I continue on. If your week's not been bad, Caroline, then that must mean it must have been good. Just saying. I'm in a little bit of a daft mood because I've just been watching some silly little videos that involve animals. So always can rely on a good animal video to make me smile. So I am going to give it a few more minutes to allow people to join. And just to let you know, as you can tell by the imagery around me, I haven't got my big clock from at home here, but so that means I'm in the office. And there is quite a lot of activity outside the office this evening as they are taking down the Christmas trees. It's January the 15th. But they are just taking down the Christmas trees that have been lining the street here in York outside the office. So if you see lots of flashing or hear lots of different noises, then that's what's going on basically. So I thought I'd let you know. So if you are new, then welcome. And as I say, please do drop in and say hi. It is a cold evening here. Heating has just gone off here at the offices, so if I start shivering, you'll know why. Hence why I've refueled my mug. We can have that conversation offline, Caroline, actually, and if you want to, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up that actually that is going to be a topic of next week, is all about anxiety, but you didn't hear me say that because I like to keep you usually in tenterhooks as to what next week's topic is. So anyway, back to this evening. As per usual, as I say, do drop down and say hi. And perfectly timed, as somebody, as I was just about to say, about liking and commenting as we go through, then a little thumb went across. As I'm talking this evening, please don't wait to be invited to type. If something resonates with you or you get it, or as the wonderful people who have been on here before are doing, hit the likes, hit the hearts, or comment. Don't feel like you've got to wait to be invited. Just comment away and share. It's a joy. Obviously, you can share as much as little as you want to. Even just saying hi is fantastic. And if something doesn't resonate, or if it's not making sense, then rather than hit the angry or the sad face or any of the other emojis on there, let me know, because there is a slight time delay. It's around about 20-30 seconds or so. And if you put kind of like a sad face or an angry face because you don't get something, it's hard for me to work out exactly what it is that you're talking or connecting to. So if something doesn't make sense, or if it doesn't resonate, or if you've got a challenge with it or want to question it a little bit more, then please feel free to put it in the comments below. Now, I was in the office last week, wasn't I? Yes. I'm just double checking to see that the broadcast is going out okay and it's not pixelated or anything, and it is. So I'm going to get rid of that so that I can't see it and it's not going to be distracting me, because I don't want to get overwhelmed with too much information. So, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. As ever, with this topic, I realise that it is a big topic. And the overwhelm is it's a word that I hear a lot, and I don't know whether that is because of the role that I have with my work as a coach. But people talking about being overwhelmed, getting overwhelmed, life is overwhelming, however they describe it, it's a word that that I have heard quite a lot and do hear very often, and in a great deal of different contexts. So it could be in relation to work, it could be in relation to a house move, it could be in relation to a relationship or health. There are so many different contexts that it can be used in, but it is a word that is used a lot. And I think that quite often part of the reasons that it gets used so often is a simple, I think, what people are actually asking or saying is more around just I don't know how to deal with what's going on, or that there is too much going on that I don't know how to deal with, or I don't know where to start, which is kind of the title that I put up about where the bleep do I start with this. And I think that's what's an important place to start. Well, actually, one of the things that I was looking at when I was looking into overwhelm and doing a bit more research around it was I was interested to find that it has links to a nautical term of a boat overturning, and that it is to turn something over or something to be upturned. And I find it fascinating how our dialogue has changed over the years and how we use language in a different way. And now overwhelm doesn't mean something being overturned, or maybe it could do, I suppose, in our life being overturned. But we do tend to talk about it in the context of there's too much on. I've got a lot going on and I don't know which way to turn with it or what to do with it. So my first thing that I want to say to you, if you are describing something or yourself as being overwhelmed with a particular situation, is to start, whatever it is to do something, no matter how you big or small you perceive it to be, and no matter whether you perceive it is going to impact on this big list, for example, is to start, to do something, to go into it. And the easiest way I could think of describing this is, if we think about our homes, however much space we may or may not have, is quite frequently they need to be decluttered or at least cleaned. And very often people can find that an overwhelming experience. You know, I've got to declutter, and, you know, there's the loft, and then there's the kids' rooms, and then there's what's in the shed, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this. So my thoughts around that are to make a start. It doesn't pick a drawer. Just pick that drawer and just start on that drawer. And then the next time is pick another drawer and start on that drawer. Because very often I think the challenge that our brains have is that when we have a big list, or we see the whole house has to be sorted, or my whole life has to be sorted, or everything has to change, is our brains think that not only does all of that stuff have to be done, but it has to be done now. And therefore that sense of overwhelm can build to too much of a kind of a panic, really, for want of a better way of putting it. So when I notice if it's something that I experience, is I just go, okay, well, where can I start? Oh, I've got too much on, the house needs doing. Okay, so what can I do? Can I just clean the draining board, or empty the dishwasher, or put some washing on, or what's the one thing that I can do? And make it the smallest, simplest, easiest thing, and just do that one thing. Action does tend to inspire action. So when you take that action, it tends to inspire you to more action. So let me know if that makes sense and resonates with you. Excuse me 1 second. I do apologise. So yeah, let me know if that's making sense for you, and if that resonates with you, of just taking that action. And it doesn't have to be, right, I'm doing the whole of the shed today. It's okay, well, what's the drawer that I can open and get on with? And that it may not always be a physical thing that you're talking about. It may be there's lots of hearts and thumbs. Thanks for all of those going across. Keep them coming if it's making sense. You know, if you've got a big list with regards to work, then okay, well, what can I do? You know, I came in today, I had a lot of things that I needed to get done. And it's like, okay, so where can I start? What's the things that need to get done? And just taking action. Take the next action, the next action, the next action. So that's my first thing. And I did mean to go and get something, which is just over there. So I'm just going to grab that. For my next thing that I want to share with you, because I'm pretty sure that I have mentioned this. I'm pretty sure that I have mentioned this before, which is my book. Obviously, it looks backwards in here on the screen. If We Can, You Can, available on Amazon. And the reason I bring this up is for a particular exercise in here. If you are feeling overwhelmed, and this is something I really needed to have found earlier, but I'm trusting that I will be able to stumble across it fairly swiftly. There we go. So there is a particular exercise that I use with clients who believe that they're overwhelmed, don't know where to start, what to do, there's too much. Another phrase that people use, oh, thank you, Alyssa. Loved reading it, she says, love reading it. Available in all good Amazon stores and Kindle version. People say, you know, I've got a lot on my mind, and that, or I've got a lot to sort out in my head. And quite often what we end up doing is we end up trying to sort it out up here without talking it through with anybody, and without using any other helpful resources. And what we need to do a lot of the time is actually get what's in our head out of our head. And in this book, on page 66, if you want to be precise and go to it, is an exercise called the splat board. And the splat board isn't something that I created the splat board in the sense of it's just an exercise. I'm sure it's used in other ways, but it's something that I just did. But it's named by one of my clients who tells her story in this book as well. And it's an exercise that we found. She was going through a lot of emotional situations. And sometimes her pattern was to go into, it's just too much, it's too much to deal with, and then would step away, it's too overwhelmed, and therefore nothing would get done. You know, we procrastinate, put those things off, and then that would have a snowball effect and things would get bigger and bigger. So we started using the splat board to give her the opportunity to go through and get really clear on what it was that was going on for her. And it's a simple technique. I'll just give you the first step of it, which is basically getting the biggest sheet of paper that you can. I prefer to turn it landscape because we tend to write in books in portrait style. So I tend to do it landscape just so that it's something a little bit different from my brain. That's just my thing. Feel free to take it. And I usually get a few pens, different colour pens as well. And get what's ever in your head out of your head and do it as succinctly as you possibly can. So, you know, it might be the kids, and that's great just to put the kids, but can you split it out a little bit more? But it's not about, you know, the kids and I have to sort this out and I have to sort that out. It's writing really succinctly what it is, those things that are on your mind at that moment in time, and just splat them, hence the term splat board. And when Helen and I have done it in the office here, I've got a flip chart, and so to her, she says it's like getting her brain and splatting everything out, which is where the term came from. And it's getting everything out so that you can see it, and writing things in different colours can really help as well. And from that stage onwards, then it gives you an opportunity to really see, instead of just thinking about it in here, it's actually seeing it. Now, one of the things that I notice when I'm working with clients one-to-one is that we have this, I suppose I would call it quite an arrogant way of, if I think about it, then I can sort it out. Well, Einstein's quote is something along the lines of, I can't solve a problem with the same kind of thinking that created it. So we have to think differently. And sometimes that's a real challenge for us to be able to do. And this exercise, the Splatboard, gives you the opportunity to be able to think in a slightly different way, because even if it is simple things like turning the paper around a different way, using different pens, etc., it gives you that opportunity to step back from it, splat it out on this board and start to look at it in a different way. By doing this kind of dramatized overwhelm that the brain creates, the thinking brain creates, gives you the opportunity to see it. And sometimes it's seeing it for the first time. And my guess is for the majority of us, especially with it all on one piece of paper, is that it will be the first time that your brain has seen the whole lot in one space. And from there, as it goes through in the book, is then you work out, okay, well, what of that can I do right now? What of that do I have control of? What of it I don't have control of? What of it can I influence? And starting to go through, and so often, I've seen this with people who have had 20 odd things on a sheet of paper, is so often that overwhelm slowly starts to reduce, and then their focus goes on the one thing that they need to do. It's not that the other things have all been magically sorted out, although some of them, we'll find interestingly, don't need our attention. And that's just as important as coming up with an action list that needs to be done with the other ones. But we hone it down into that one thing that needs to be done. And it's so important to give ourselves that space to just work on that. And it's the phrase that comes up very often when I'm working with clients is, it seems manageable. Things seem manageable. And we haven't magically sorted out things in the office here. You know, we haven't suddenly, we haven't suddenly done, got the CV sorted, or got the new job, or sorted out the relationship, or moved house, or whatever, decluttered the house, or whatever it may be. But the process of all the things that need to be sorted out become manageable. And that's what's so helpful with regards to that particular exercise. So what do you think? Can you imagine yourself using this? Does this make sense? Let me know. Give me some thumbs up. Let me know. Give me some love in. And if it doesn't, then please do tell me. I haven't yet had my dinner. Oh, there's loads of, I just looked up then, there's loads of thumbs and hearts going across. Ace, that's brilliant. I haven't yet had my dinner, and I've got a picture of some pretty fantastic food, not that I've cooked it, that's on my laptop at the moment, and my brain I keep seeing that, and my belly's starting to rumbling. So that's making sense. Those of you, and if those of you who have joined and haven't yet said hello, by the way, feel free to say hi at any point. And any time, if there's anything that's resonating, or you want to just join in and talk about my crazy quiff that seems to be going on, or whatever it may be, then just drop down. Don't wait to be invited. Please, it's lovely to have your interaction as the conversation goes on. So those two things, and also if you've got any questions as well, because my aim with these, as with all of those, hi Joanne, my aim with all of these, oops, nearly accidentally blocked you then, Joanne, is to plant seeds, to get you to start thinking in a different way in order to help you from wherever you're at. Because obviously you and I haven't yet met in person, or we haven't had a one-to-one conversation, and we haven't yet had a coaching call or workshop or whatever it may be. And so therefore, I don't know what your starting point is. So I'm doing my best to kind of give an overview of these particular topics that I bring every single week. And obviously, if you've got other questions and you want to take it deeper, then just let me know by putting the comments in below, and we can go from there. Otherwise, I will happily keep chuntering away until the time is up. But this is about you. This is about whatever your needs may be in any of these situations. So yeah, let me know. Hey Jules, love a list. Splat list sounds great, and love the quiff too. Yeah, the thing is, a splat board isn't a splat list because it's not about. It's really important to know it's not about making a list. It really is about getting all these different ideas out, because we will quite often, especially as women, and especially as people who used to work or still work in organisational kind of planning and things, we will create a list which is very linear. And that has its uses and its values, but in this instance, to just get everything out of your head, just chuck it down in all different spaces. That's why I think doing it, having the piece of paper around in landscape gives you the opportunity to just go a bit bonkers with it all and write it all out in a different way. So my third and final thing. So the first thing is take action. If you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're describing a situation as being overwhelmed in any way, shape or form, take action. Take the smallest action that you can, so that you're taking steps towards that thing. And just keep taking those small steps. And then just notice what happens, because as I say, I do believe that action inspires action. So the more that you take those little steps, the more actions you possibly will end up taking. The second thing is to use, in the book, the splat board exercise, to give you the opportunity to get everything out, so that you can start to look at things in a far more pragmatic manner. And yeah, every time I've done this with clients, it would be inappropriate for me to take a photo of them when they arrive and then part way through. But one of the things I really notice is, this is an exaggeration, but people come in and their faces are kind of a bit scrunchy, and they've got not necessarily wrinkle lines, but they've got kind of like, they can sometimes look a bit ashen or a bit scrunchy is the best way. And as I say, I'm exaggerating. And then just watching them during a session, and sometimes it's like watching people have a facelift before me as they start to just relax and realise that they can do things and what is possible. And yeah, the splat board is a great exercise for that. Takes years off your love. The final thing is something, if you've watched any of my videos, if you've listened to me at all in various different ways, there's lots of thumbs going across at the moment, thank you. You will know that what I'm about to say is something that I say a lot. A splat board next to my bed with a pen, as thoughts and ideas keep me awake at night. Is this advisable to do at night? Brilliant question, Joanne. So actually, my suggestion would be do it before you go to bed. So find a nice routine, maybe 5 to 10 minutes before you go to bed, and get the book and just write everything out. But remember, it's not about sorting any of it out. It is literally just about getting it out of your head. In that sense, it's just writing it all down so that you know that you've got it captured. And then I would close the book, but maybe have a marker in there so that if you do wake in the night and go, you can just capture that as well and keep that there. But I wouldn't do it through the night. I would see if you can get yourself in a routine, give yourself 5-10 minutes, maybe before you go to bed, to just do that, get all of that out. And let me know how it goes, Joanne. So the third thing, as I say, it's something that I have spoken about in so many different guises, and I cannot emphasize the value of using this kind of phraseology to make a difference for yourself, whether you're experiencing overwhelm, stress, anxiety, upset, worry, frustration, anger, whatever it may be. And it's to start asking yourself, how am I describing this? And more specifically, going into deeper layers, it's you want to be looking at, how am I describing myself in relation to this? But so often when people are talking about overwhelm, the way that they're describing it is, I can't do this, I'm not going to get it done, I'm not going to meet the deadline, I don't know where to start, I'm going to get it wrong. and all of those kinds of ways. And that's how we're describing ourselves in relation to it. And I thought one of the most succinct ways of sharing something with you is actually taken from Tim Ferriss, who wrote the book The 4-Hour Work Week and has written a number of different books and has a number of different businesses and courses and all sorts of going on. And it comes from one of his TED Talks in which he says that one of the people perceive him as a risk taker. And because he says yes to a lot more things than most people would. But he said it's not that so much that he's more of a risk taker, it's just that he looks at things in a different way. And he says he has this question, which I think could help you if you are describing something as difficult, hard, I can't do it, it's too much, I'm never going to get it, I'm never going to make the deadline, all of those different things which could then create overwhelm for ourselves, is to use Tim's question, which is, what might this be like if it were easy? What might this be like if it were easy? And again, I think that quite often when we ask questions like that, we assume that we have to come up with an answer straight away. But it's one of those ones to allow it to percolate, and potentially one that you could ask yourself before you go to bed, Joanne. There's another exercise for you to play around with. And it's just to lay them, what might this be like if it were easy? It's not asking you to come up with a how am I going to do it. It's just, what might it be like? What might it look like? What might it feel like? What might I be like? How might I show up in that situation if it was easy? And I think that question is such a beautiful, simple way of starting to, it's resonating with a lot of people. There's a lot of thumbs going across. As I say, it's not about coming up with the answer, but it is giving you the opportunity to percolate, okay, well, what might it be like if it were easy? So I know that it's a question that I used a lot when I was moving house last year, because not everyone, a lot of people kept saying, oh, you must be stressed, it's the most stressful thing in the world, and da-da-da-da-da. And I just kept asking myself that, well, what might this be like if it were easy? And the amount of people that said to me, how can you be moving house and you seem so calm? Because I looked for how it might be easy, rather than being overwhelmed. And if you've ever moved home, there's a lot to sort out. But I didn't get overwhelmed by it because I looked for what it might be like if it were easy. Making sense? So if you are describing something or describing yourself as being overwhelmed, there's those 3 tips. One is take action, because if you do not genuinely know where to start, then just take action. Start with anything, because if you don't know where to start, then start with one thing. And I can pretty much guarantee that if that's not the right thing or the right place to start, then your brain will go, no, it's not that, it's that. And you'll start to see where close towards where the right place is to start. But you've got to take that step. You've got to take that action first and give yourself that opportunity, because every single time I've just noticed that people then, they get moving. And once you get moving, you get that attraction there. And then overwhelm, and the way you're describing things lessens a great deal. So they're my 3 things for you of ways for you to be able to deal with overwhelm. What do you think? She says with a very waggy finger. What are your thoughts on that? What is your one takeaway from this evening? Jot it down below, because I think it's lovely, not just for me and for you, but it also helps other people to kind of go, oh yeah, I got that bit. Or you may have joined the conversation late, and it may spark a conversation that enables you to pick up a little bit more. So what's your one takeaway? Excuse me again. What's your one takeaway from this conversation this evening? Please do let me know, Joanne, how that goes. So Jules says, that feels like the old theatre phrase, that's showbiz, no one said it would be easy. I use it all the time in life too, Jules. It's almost asking if the work is worth it. It's almost asking if the work is worth it. It's slightly different. You know, I think the adage of "that's showbiz, nobody said it would be easy" was very much a statement that we used to use. I don't know if it was Simon who coined that. It's where I first heard it in Nottingham. And I know that both of us worked there, even though it wasn't at the same time. But I think that's a kind of just, I think, a polite way of saying shut up and get on with it. And what might it be like if it were easy is not quite the same thing at all, because it's not about shut up and get on with it. It's getting your brain to explore and open up, and it goes back to, I say kinda a lot, and I'm really starting to annoy myself with it. It goes back to the Einstein's, you can't solve a problem with the same kind of thinking that created it. And what we don't realise is we get kind of, there you go, see, kinda. We get stuck in the same way of thinking, and asking a question like that can open up to some other possibilities and other opportunities. So it is slightly different, but I love the fact I've forgotten, I haven't used that for a while. That's showbiz, nobody said it would be easy. Anything else? Any other takeaways from this evening before I round up? She says, wobbling the camera. There's an earthquake? There's not. There's not an earthquake. I told you I was in a bit of a funny mood. And the ghost walk man is coming, hence the bell. So I'm trusting that this evening's conversation has given you some food for thought, given you the opportunity to hopefully take a step back and perceive overwhelm in a different way, and give you the opportunity to be able to relate to it in a different way. So there's lots of thumbs and hearts going across. I'm assuming that means that it's resonated and making sense with people. So I think I've waffled on long enough to be able to give whoever was typing, if you were typing, time to complete that. But if you are typing and I do finish, then don't worry, it will pop up. Thank you for the loves and the likes. This is brilliant. And I do come back if you comment on them, even if you're watching the recording. It's the ghost man making people laugh. If you're watching this on the recording, still comment and leave your thoughts as well, because I do come back to it when I get the notifications that this of your thoughts and your questions. So yeah, I've got distracted, as you could probably tell, by the ghost man. I'm hoping that it's given you some food for thought. That is, as ever, always my aim with these conversations. And as I did give a sneaky kind of drop in early on, the topic for next week is all around anxiety. So if you know somebody who experiences that, or is somebody who's an anxious character, then let them know and come and join the party. Get them to like the page so that they know when I'm live next week. Jules has said, I do not use it in the way Simon did. It's definitely me realising that I will have to work for some stuff, or it might not be easy, but it will be worth it. Brilliant. And Caroline says, yes, me. So I will, look at the topic of anxiety next week, and ways of being able to, I don't keep like using the word deal with it, because we're just going to have a conversation about anxiety. That's what we're going to do. I'm not going to get anxious about the topic, the title even. That is what we're going to be talking about, and I shall leave it there before I waffle on anymore. Have a wonderful rest of week, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. And remember, head on over to Amazon if you haven't already got yourself a copy of this. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye now.